Some of the best and brightest minds gather here in Davos every year to get a sense of where the global economy is headed. With me today, three people who really represent different sectors but are in many ways stalwarts in their own fields. Mr. Tulsi Tanti, Mr. Jaspal Bindra and Mr. Ajay Piramal, many thanks for being with us here. Let me first get a sense from you, Mr. Tanti, as to the mood here in Davos. Is it one of cautious optimism? Are we seeing global recovery finally setting in?
I think overall worst part of the over and there is no uncertainty or negative news is moving around the WAF. So that is the plus side is there. And every segment of the countries are looking some positive hopes and optimism is there. But still lots of challenge and lots of issue we have to address. And the delivery will give the result finally in 2014.
All right, so 2014 clearly looking, Mr. Bindra, much better than what 2013 certainly was. But India and your thoughts on where the Indian economy is headed, because really you're someone who can compare it with various other economies, the growth of the emerging markets. The one theme that's coming up here is really that the emerging markets have disappointed with their growth rates.
Well, it's first important to lay out that India's growth has moderated in line with the rest of the world. And India is still growing at 5% for an economy of that size is still among the largest and the fastest in the world. But having said that, we think 13 has put a floor to the economic outlook and things should get better from here. The question is the pace and the degree.
Well, this is one view really that India is still doing much better than the rest of the world. Many within corporate India believe that's clearly not enough. They want a lot more. They believe that the government should have done a lot more to ensure that growth did not slip to such levels of 5%. Should we be celebrating 5% or should we be very disappointed with that number?
I wouldn't be celebrating 5% because I think our potential should be the 8+%. And only a few years ago, the dialogue was how can we get to 10%. My fear is that we are now settling into this average of 5 or 6% is good. So I'm not very happy, and I think we need to accelerate that. That's required for the country. It's required, actually, if you talk about poverty alleviation, I think it's the GDP growth. That's the most important. So we have to go to the path again towards 8+% growth.
And right now, of course, everyone has their eye on elections as far as India is concerned, Mr. Tanti, and that will be the big determinant going forward on the economic direction of the country. What is the kind of conversations happening around India and the political environment clearly?
The political environment is very uncertain. It is there currently. It's very clear is there. So 2014, we can say it's an election year for us. I don't see the much more progress we can able to do in 2040. The best part is there if India come out with a very strong, stable government. I think that will give some positive hopes to make lots of economic growth and lots of social development we can able to do. So let's see how the political leaders and the political parties are shaping our countries in the interest of the society to bring the stable government, and that is up to us. So we have to bring the stable government.
All right, whenever we talked about India, the one thing that was always said was that India's fundamentals are very strong. It's growth that is coming on the basis of very, very strong fundamentals. At the same time, now people are beginning to question those figures. While we brought the current account deficit under control, the fiscal deficit is also not looking as bad as what was feared. The real worry is that we've slipped on fiscal consolidation. What, according to you, would be some of the major downside risks going forward?
I think clearly it's an imperative for India to shore up both its deficits, current account and fiscal. And I think it's a behavioral issue rather than just a sporadic policy issue. I think we've already seen some of the confidence come from the RBI measures, and the recorrection in the rupee rate is one good example of that. I think going forward we'll have to see what the new government has in mind.
All right, new government, and that's the big thing. What will happen post-2014? Are you worried that a fractured verdict will be bad for the economy, or do you have a sense that whichever government will come to power, the growth agenda will be taken forward?
Clearly, a fractured verdict is not going to be good. We've seen that in the past, that if you do not have adequate majority and if you have small splinter groups trying to run the agenda for the country, it's not in the best interests of the country. So I think we need to hope that there is a strong government. There's a government where one party has the leading parties have a good majority or a reasonable majority, only then I think we will see that India will get onto the growth path much faster than what it's today.
All right. When we talk particularly about the fact that we need reforms, many believe that reforms is an ongoing process. And when people within corporate India say this government hasn't taken forward the reform process as well, we're often asked, what are reforms, So if you were to give a message to policymakers right now on the way forward for the India growth story, what would that message be?
See, reforms is but a means. Basically, what we are all looking for is growth and stability. And growth will come from good policy making at the government level, and stability will come from excellent governance at the government level again. And I think both of those are strongly desirous, both for internal and external investment and appetite.
Policy flip-flop is one thing that we very often hear foreign investors say about India, especially given what has happened in the last few years. Do you think it's a major concern that there is instability in India's policies right now? Is that something people tell you here in Davos?
Correct. The FDI investment currently, it's still people are watching. Let's see how the elections will move and how the new government formation will be there. After that, they are looking the investment flow in the country. But the overall sentiments in the financial industries and markets, in the funds, they are positive for the India, and they are looking some investment opportunity, because if we see the huge investment flow has started in the capital market, in particular in the European assets, and the capital market has improved the value of the stocks and other thing as very well is there. The same way the flow of the US fund is moving to the emerging economy, and they strongly believe, because the overall GDP of the world is 33% is coming from the Asian country only, and within that India is a prominent country. So I don't see the concern about the financial institutes to invest in India going forward. Just they are waiting for the election and stability of the government, and after that I am confident the fund will come to the country.
All right, money will flow into India is what Mr. Tanti is saying, and that is likely to happen post-elections. Mr. Bindra, a quick word from you as far as interest rates are concerned, because already you've seen in India there is an increasing noise from the industry about cutting interest rates. We know Governor Rajan will have to take a decision on the 28th of January. Food inflation and overall inflation looks under control. Do you think it's time to start cutting rates?
Well, I think the governor is in a tough place. It's between a rock and a hard place between inflation and growth of the industry. I think a mix and match is what he's adopted so far, and we hope he will use good judgment in the future as well.
All right, Mr. Piramal, last word to you in terms of where you see India's growth. The finance minister has pegged next financial year at 6%. Do you think that's achievable? We'll be able to deliver 6% in the next fiscal?
I'm not as optimistic about the growth rates in the next fiscal. It really depends on who the new government is, what their policies are. And when they come in, you expect a new government sometime in June. They'll have to actually rewind some of the stuff that's happening now. So I expect growth will only start. You'll see the upward curve somewhere in January 2015 onwards.
All right, so clearly the message that's coming right now is that don't expect that there will be a major uptick in growth anytime soon. And as Mr. Tanti was saying, of course, the big concern right now will be the political outcome, and the uncertainty there is something that is worrying both domestic investors as well as foreign investors. Thank you very much, Mr. Piramal, Mr. Bindra and Mr. Tanti for joining us and sharing your thoughts with camera person Arif Radhu and Zubair. This is Shweta, Rajpal, Kohli reporting from Davos in Switzerland for NDTV.